the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
It's Tim Albright with AVNation with an AVNation special, taking a look at CEDIA's brand spanking new Toolkit. Came out just a few weeks ago around ISE. The tech industry is certainly growing. Smart home is certainly growing, and CEDIA has developed a toolkit that helps both business owners and technologists get their head and their hands around emerging technology and education. This is an emphasis on hands-on learning and real-world experience. The NextGen Smart Home Career Toolkit prepares individuals to excel in a variety of roles within the industry, including installation, integration, and project management. With us to talk about this very thing, first and foremost, Mandy Beckner. She is the Vice President of Education and Training for CEDIA. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And also with us is the CEO, Daryl Friedman from CEDIA. Welcome, sir.
Always a pleasure to be back.
So you guys are just coming back from Integrated Systems Europe, ISE. CEDIA, not for nothing, is 50% owner of that show. Large smart home section there in Hall 2, where CEDIA was headquartered for that week. Mandy, I want to start with you on this. There was a session that you moderated, and I want to read a quote here, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't screw it up. There was a panel talking about certification, and Paul Skelton said, quote unquote, "There's not enough people in our industry who are certified to be taken seriously as an industry." So I'm going to synopsize a bit on what Mr. Skelton said. In my reading of this, we don't have enough certifications in the industry, or not enough people are certified to be taken seriously as an industry, right? We don't have PEs, public engineers. We don't have electrical, the double E's, electrical engineers. Education and certification go hand in hand. You have been doing this for years when it comes to certification and education. First part of this question, though, goes to you. What is the value of certification overall in the industry?
Well, thank you very much. I love certification and can nerd out hard on this. Certification is an opportunity to mark one's professionalism and competency. What that can mean depends on what segment of the marketplace you're in. If you're an integrator, it's your opportunity to differentiate yourself from your competition. Or, as my colleague Paul stated on that panel that you referenced, if you have a certification, you're putting your competition in a position of having to explain why they don't or why they weren't able to get it. It is also an important tool for workforce development, in that when schools, community organizations grant folks, people in federal government, have an opportunity to help us level up our workforce. They're looking to see how many people hold a certification as a mark of the size and professionalism of the market. And having a certification will help CEDIA tell the industry story and get more people interested in our industry.
Daryl, let's get to the toolkit then. What exactly is what's in it? What's it do? Who's it for?
Thanks. Well, yeah, and I'll just say one more thing on what Mandy was talking about with certification. You're going to start seeing more and more people from the outside our channel asking about CEDIA certification, because our marketing communications operation is really promoting that to design and build community as well as consumers. So it would behoove an integrator to become certified now and not have that client ask them, "Are you certified?" and have to say no. So I would just encourage everyone to look into that program for us. But that's the current integrators. So you're asking about the future integrators, which is critically important to our industry. As I've been traveling around, I've spent the first 6 months of my job just traveling the world, talking to as many members as I could possibly reach and having sit-down meetings with them, literally hundreds of members. And the issue that popped up, which I knew was important, it was always going to be a priority, but I didn't really sense the urgency until I started seeing these people sitting down in their businesses and seeing what they were working with, was the labor shortage, number one, far and away. And so CEDIA's job is to address this. We are the only nonprofit organization in this space working to elevate the industry. So our job is to help members and non-members alike, but we hope non-members will come to us and help us support us. So CEDIA NextGen is really an answer to that question. What can CEDIA do to help us with the labor force? And what we're doing is partnering with our membership to reach out to have ambassadors all over the world, to reach out to schools, to students, to educational institutions, to career fairs, and use the tools that we've created to make this job very easy and very palatable for an integrator to do. I keep saying if one person from every CEDIA member company would do this one time in 1 year, we'll reach potentially 120,000 new employees. Wow. So the first thing is, to open the door is a cool video that's targeted really to the 16, 17-year-old demographic. And then when you get deeper into it, the integrator has all sorts of tools to make that presentation effective, slick, and compelling.
All right, we're going to play that video real quick and then come back to you guys with some more questions.
There's nothing wrong with the ordinary. This just isn't it. Smart home technology is anything but ordinary. Lighting, automation, security, entertainment. The latest and greatest technology, integrated together in an industry that is transforming the way we live. But just because you want to work with tech, doesn't mean you always want to sit behind a computer. CEDIA certified training gives you valuable experience with our industry-leading professional members, preparing you for a hands-on, high-tech field. Like so many skilled trades, smart home integrator technicians are in high demand. But unlike an electrician, HVAC tech, or plumber, your best work doesn't stay hidden behind walls and underneath the floors. Smart home integrators transform people's normal homes into something truly remarkable. You help create experiences that homeowners can see, feel, touch, and hear. It's an industry you'll be proud to be part of. So if you're ready, you can make the ordinary extraordinary.
Okay, so taking a page from the members, and one of the things that I actually got to learn about Daryl the last time he and I talked, going around and actually working on site with CEDIA members, which I think is fantastic and fabulous. And some of the folks that he did, I think the world of. So the fact that he got to hang out with them was awesome. You got this from those members. You got this idea. You got this direction from those members. You said something, though, there a second ago, outside the industry, getting them to ask about certification, getting this into schools. How do we do that? How do we get more acceptance and vision of these certifications outside of the AV industry?
Well, it's really creating awareness. One of the surprising things I heard after this video that we just watched was released was, we knew it was intended for the up-and-coming 16, 17-year-old potential future integrator. What really surprised me was that so many integrators who aren't necessarily interested in workforce development love the video because it explained the industry, and they felt like that's been lacking. I've heard this comment over and over again, like, this finally encapsulates what it is we do, what this industry is all about. So if CEDIA can be helpful, it's our job really to do this, to make this industry more, other industries more aware of what we do, consumers more aware of what we do. You're seeing some of that just in terms of, if you now search for smart home installer, you see a much higher ranking for CEDIA, and that will continue to grow. The outreach we're doing to design and build, we had people at the Kitchen Bath Design Show last week. Yep. We're really doing a lot of outreach so that people will start to ask an integrator, what is it? Are you a member of CEDIA? Are you certified? Are you trained? And we think that kind of awareness will actually elevate the entire industry.
Mandy, one of the things that is an underlying theme here that we haven't overtly said, and that is the idea of workforce development, continuing education, bringing people along. One of the things that CEDIA did really, really well after the housing market bust in the late 2000s was really get into folks who were looking for a new career because of whatever reason their job was suddenly sidelined. This feels a little bit like that as well, where you are going out and instead of a plethora of ready bodies, now we're looking at an employment number at, depending on who you ask, historic lows or near historic lows. How do we go about going out to those folks, including the 16, 17-year-olds who are looking for their first career, but also to those folks that are looking to gain or get into a second or third career?
Yes, the upskillers. What we have works very well for both organizations. So we're doing this in a couple of ways. One, we want to make sure that we're arming our integrators or anyone who wants to use our toolkit with information about how they can loop CEDIA staff in to help make connections where there might be interested parties in being partners with us in education and certification. So we have 8 schools in the US, 1 in the UK currently, and there's more in development who are using CEDIA curriculum to lead into certification. And these aren't just for the 17 and 18-year-olds. These are also for the audience that you mentioned, those upskilling and reskilling. We're also working on partnerships with allied trades where we can support one another's success in making sure those doing the work are doing the work well or have an awareness of the competencies required to do the work, which is really a big part of knowing where you want to go next in your career. So these opportunities for licensing or training or even offering certification to organizations or conferences, these are all things that we're currently doing at CEDIA to get the word out and get more people aware of what it takes to do the work.
All right. Real practical question here, Daryl or Mandy, either one. How does someone access it, and who in your mind is the best person to access it? Is it the dealer in getting it into the hands of the local high school or trade school, or is it from the education institution, and those are the folks you want to kind of pull on this?
That's great. I'll start, and Mandy can certainly fill in. But I think the starting place is probably going to be the integrator because the awareness is there. Where in the educational institutions, although we have great partnerships with many, some of them just wouldn't even know to ask. So we've made this very easy. CEDIA.net/NextGen is a place to go. You can you can download the entire toolkit. There's a link on that site. See this video again if you want to refresh and have access to all the information. We're making this available to members and non-members because we think it's important for this industry to have the labor pool, but I think that's the right way to start. Now, anyone else, manufacturer, distributor, anyone in our space is welcome to use this and encouraged to use this, but I think those integrators, those companies looking for workers are going to be the main people going to use the toolkit.
And I'll add to that there are a lot of elements to this cool toolkit, not just that fantastic video that you all got to see a preview of. There's presentations where we invite you to work from that presentation to tell your own story to any community group or school who invites you to come and make a presentation about the opportunities in our workforce. When we as individuals connect with that audience and tell how we got involved, what the work is like, what we love about it, what makes for a good day or a bad day, these are all reasons for people to see themselves in what we hope could be a really exciting and successful career for them.
Let me ask you a question, because this is something that so my day job is I run marketing for an integrator in St. Louis, commercial integrator, but still stick with me for a second. One of the things that we're also looking at is who is the ideal candidate in those high schools or even in those trade schools. Because there are some students who are maybe naturally inclined in the culinary arts, right? They are incredible chefs and cooks, and they make a pasta frijoule like nobody's business. They probably shouldn't be pulling cable and setting up networks. However, there's a completely separate group of folks who are technologically advanced. They're the ones who help the instructors, set up the projector or fix it when it's broken. Like, who is your ideal candidate when you go into those schools, and how are we conveying that information to the integrators and the folks on the ground and the grassroots?
Well, our industry is one of interdisciplinarity, so we have so many answers to that very question. Sure, there's the ones that we can tell just from the definition of their job: programmer, systems designer. You can make connections to what they might be interested in. But what about that student who is really into environmental science and feels very deeply about protecting our earth? They might find a home in our industry because they're interested in sustainability or in energy management. You might find a student who really likes taking things apart and putting them back together again. Okay, that's very compelling for maybe not just an integrator, but someone who does R&D at a manufacturer. We can make these connections in so many places that we're throwing a wide net. And then we don't want to just capture the imagination of these learners at these schools, but also their parents, their community organizers, their career advisors, all of them, because stories get shared and spread. And that's exactly what we're aiming for.
Yeah, Mandy doesn't know it, but she just described my 14-year-old, so I have some
I have
hope
one
for him.
too. That's probably why.
Oh, you could say there are days. All right, Daryl, something you guys had talked about earlier that I want to hit back on because you and I have talked a number of times over the last year, and your government advocacy, let's call it that, as a broad topic here. You guys talked about getting in with the federal government and making sure that you get more and more certifications, because then the federal government recognizes this industry as a viable viable industry overall. Talk for a second about not just the NextGen smart home toolkit, but also how that fits into this government advocacy that you guys have been doing over the last year or two.
Yeah, it's all really interrelated and interconnected. I mean, advocacy can mean advocacy, lobbying to the government. It can mean championing our industry to young people and to the design and build community. So it all really comes down to increasing awareness and credibility for this industry. One person just said on a blog or a podcast I heard last week that I watched this video and I feel like our industry is legit. Like for the first time, they felt that. So when we go to the federal U.S. government and ask for a change to the occupational code to include integrators, which are currently not in there, we want to be able to show everything we can about this industry, including a new workforce coming in, including certification of a trained workforce. So all of that will be important. And then this year we'll be working at the state level as well to just to make sure that licensing is amenable to our community. So if you get the call from he's been on the show, Darren Rierman in our office. If you get the call from him, we're going to have state captains now in every U.S. state. So you might be tapped on the shoulder to be part of that and to actually help us in this regulatory environment and make sure that it's the right environment for our workers.
All right. As we wrap up here, one final question to both of you. Mandy, we'll start with you. Look forward a year from now. I'm not going to say 5 years or 10 years, because what COVID has taught me is one thing. If COVID has taught me one thing, do not plan for 5 years from now. Shoot, you can try to plan for a year. But a year from now, look back. What do you want to see? What do you want to have accomplished with this toolkit?
Of course, I want students out there telling our story to their peers and saying, this is a great place, but a year might be kind of aggressive on that. One thing's for sure, when I look at the volunteers who have been part of this initiative, either from education or from certification or for the workforce development toolkit, the assets in this NextGen toolkit, all of those volunteers, I want them to be able to tell their peers, their community, their families, their local governments, this is important. I'm part of this. Here's my story, and here's how you might be part of its growth. I think that would be very impactful. And if they can do that with a sense of pride in what they do and the companies that they lead and represent, I think that would be a very great story to tell.
All right. Daryl, same question. What do you want to see a year from now?
Well, I think it's two things. One is I do want every company member to send one person to a classroom to make this presentation. A classroom of, say, 30 people, we can reach over 100,000 potential new employees for our industry. But I also want just to send a message to all of those members who took the time to sit down with me over the last year and a couple months and let you know that we're listening, that we thank you for that advice. You told us this was the most important thing CEDIA should be addressing. We hope you're happy with the result of this, but I just want you to know, keep sending those ideas, keep letting us know what's important to this industry, and CEDIA will be there for you. So just want to thank everybody who took the time, and also, as Mandy said, all the volunteers. Everything we've talked about has been underlined by volunteers, workforce development committees, certification volunteers, education volunteers. So I just want to thank our community, essentially, for bringing us to this point.
All right, very good. Mandy, thank you so much.
Thank
Daryl,
you.
Thank you so much. Somebody wants to find out more about the NextGen Smart Home Toolkit. How do they do that?
CEDIA.net/NextGen.
All right, very good. Thank you both so much. For us, I'm Tim Albright. Don't go don't follow me. Go to the website, AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv, you'll find more videos like this, including a roundup of the aforementioned ISE that we all just came back from. So all that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.